Hey, brothers and sisters. Wanted to talk to you today just about realizing consciousness. Realizing which voice it is that you're hearing. You know, the ego says I, when the spirit self says I as well. It's like I've said before in some of my writings, when you're meditating to be still and wait until you hear that voice that says, be still and know that I am God. Know that I am. Be still and know that I am. But it can be very hard to discern which voice it is that you're hearing. The ego is very sneaky. You have to realize that we created the ego upon our arrival here as a built-in survival mechanism. So it has been created to be very sneaky and very devious. So one must be aware in order to realize consciousness and transcend the ego and to recognize once and for all the falsehood and the illusion of the ego. You must reach a place where you are at one, where you are in tune, where you are connected to the one consciousness. And this is a process, and it's an ongoing process. And, you know, every once in a while that little egoic tendencies may arise, and you have to be able to recognize these things. The ego wants to be appeased. The ego wants, needs. And the thing to understand is that your highest self, who you truly are, your eternal self, your immortal self within you, needs nothing, fears nothing, is concerned about nothing, because it already knows everything. Because who you are within this vessel is connected to Source, is at one with Source, and is timeless, and has no sense of past, present, future, because it's all happening at the same time. It already knows the answers. This is why I ask people all the time, why do you keep listening to the little one that thinks it knows instead of listening to the one that knows that it knows? Stop letting the tail wag the dog. Be the dog. Be the God that you are. Be in control of the vessel. Do not let the vessel control you. There are so many running around that are just on autopilot, and they're not even aware of what's going on around them. They're not aware of the world. They're not aware of consciousness. They're like robots. Realizing consciousness will bring you to a state of being where all at once everything matters, but at the same time nothing matters. And what I mean by that is that you are compassionate and concerned and loving, and you care about all things, but at the same time you are similarly unconcerned in the manner that you do not allow yourself to be affected, you do not allow your inner peace to be destroyed by these outside influences. Because as you become conscious, you realize that everything is happening as it should happen and as it has to happen, and there are lessons to be learned in everything. And the only mistakes that we can make are not learning from the lessons. So, how do you discover which voice you're listening to? You listen very closely and ask yourself, is this coming from a place of fear or a place of love? Because everything that's coming from fear is coming from ego. Every child of fear, hate, anger, selfishness, resentment, unforgiveness, prejudice, judgment, all of those things are attached to the ego. So if you're experiencing those emotions, or if that voice speaking to you is speaking in this way, speaking of separatism or hate or fear or anger, then know that that is not your highest self. That is not consciousness. That is not source speaking to you. Because consciousness will always speak from a place of love, not of anger and fear. It cannot. Rise above. It's time to rise above. The only way that you can evolve spiritually and become even more physically and mentally by bringing heaven to earth, by bringing your pious self within this vessel, is by kicking the ego to the curb. There's no other way. In Lakesh Alakim, I am another yourself.